Welcome to another round of RJ Debate. One messy topic, two loud mouths, and way too many feelings colliding at once. Today's question, has digital technology actually saved long-distance love, or has it quietly turned intimacy into surveillance, anxiety, and emotional burnout?
So basically, is your WhatsApp chat with your LDR partner a lifeline or a soft prison with cute stickers?
I'm taking the "this is darker than we admit" side. I think the architecture of our apps, the typing bubbles, last seen, blue ticks, shared locations, endless screenshots has rewired longing itself. We moved from letters that made space for mystery to dashboards that turn love into a performance report.
And I'm going to push back. Yeah, there's anxiety in the system for sure, but tech also opened whole new ways to love across distance. From email to DMs to voice notes and playlists, couples can build a shared world in ways a dusty stack of letters never could. To me, digital intimacy is messy, but it's an evolution, not a tragedy.
So if you've ever stared at online and typing like it's your fate loading, this one's for you.
And if you've ever sent a meme, a 3-minute voice note, and a Spotify link and thought, this is basically my heart, yeah, please stay.
Let me start from way back. Imagine the classic scene. Someone alone in a room at night, candle on the desk, writing a love letter by hand. Every stroke of the pen is a decision. You can't just hit backspace. Mistakes stay as crossings out. You might spritz perfume on the page, shed a tear, fold it, seal it, and then wait days or weeks for it to arrive. That letter is literally a stand-in for your body.
You're really going full period drama here. I'm seeing quill pens and tragic violins already.
I mean, it matters. That era of letters had three key features. One, strong materiality. The letter is an object with texture, smell, aura, to borrow Benjamin. It feels unique, irreplaceable. Two, delay. The time between sending and receiving is built in. Waiting is part of the love story. Three, opacity. You see only the final text, not the hesitation, not the edits. The messy process stays hidden.
And in that gap, imagination goes wild. You reread the same letter 10 times, you project, you suffer beautifully. Luhmann would say that love became a whole code there, a way of talking where delay and distance were the fuel, not the bug.
Exactly. Now, fast forward. Email shows up. The structure still looks like a letter. Subject line, greeting, paragraphs, but travel time shrinks from weeks to seconds. You still have the possibility of writing long, reflective messages, saving drafts, editing, but already the rhythm changes. Waiting 3 days for an email answer feels long, not romantic. Then chat and DMs blow that up completely. Now we get a fast stream of short messages, constant pings, real-time indicators. Instead of, I wrote you a 3-page letter, it's, I've texted you 300 times today in tiny pieces. Our epistolary life gets chopped up and spread across WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram, whatever. That's what some folks call distributed epistolary. Your love story scattered into memes, screenshots, voice notes, stories, playlists, all floating around different acts.
And this is where I say the architecture starts to bite. Because once you have online, last seen, blue ticks, typing bubbles, location sharing, archives that never die, you're not just exchanging affection anymore. You're living in a low-level panopticon.
Or, alternative reading, you're finally able to keep a sense of togetherness in a world where people move cities, countries, time zones. You're not stuck waiting 3 months for a ship to deliver a letter. That's not nothing. Let me lay out why I think this is not neutral. Take the move from delay to instant. With letters, waiting was forced. You couldn't check a tracking link for "where is my love letter now?" The uncertainty created a kind of emotional discipline. You had to live with not knowing. You filled that time with imagination, remembering, maybe reading the old letters. Waiting could feel like exquisite pain, but it was acknowledged as part of love.
Pain with great PR packaging, but okay.
Now, with chat, the waiting gets compressed into seconds and minutes, and those micro gaps are suddenly heavy with implication. If you see online but no reply, your brain doesn't say, the mail coach must be delayed. It says, they're here and ignoring me. If typing appears and disappears, you don't think, connection dropped. You think, what did they almost say and then delete? The app's design pushes you to interpret silence as meaningful, often as rejection.
Yeah, that typing gone again thing is evil. People absolutely obsessed over response time.
And then there's read receipts, blue ticks, or seen, flip uncertainty into destructive certainty. They read it and chose not to answer, at least not yet. The interface turns every delay into data. You can literally audit how fast they normally reply, what time they're usually active, how chatty they are with you versus in group chats. This is love as analytics. Eva Illouz would say that emotional life has been colonized by market logic. You start treating messages like investments and replies like returns.
It's the spreadsheet of the heart.
Kind of. And Byung-Chul Han's point hits hard here. Eros, the erotic energy, needs some distance, some non-transparency, some sense that the other person is truly other. But apps push us into hyper-transparency. You can see when they're online, sometimes where they are, exactly when they open your messages. It's like living in a relationship with a live dashboard that collapses mystery into monitoring. And I'd argue it suffocates Eros with information.
So, from your angle, the app is like that one clingy, nosy aunt who keeps updating you on what your partner's doing.
Pretty much. Add ghosting into the mix. The same architecture that tracks everything also makes disappearing incredibly easy. In the letter era, dumping someone usually meant a breakup talk or at least a written farewell. Now, the most efficient strategy is to stop replying, maybe block, vanish. It's brutal but frictionless. Technology plus capitalist efficiency gives you emotional disposability.
And the archives?
That's the last stab. You can't really burn a chat. Our devices and clouds keep years of messages, photos, voice notes, screenshots. After a breakup, those become digital ruins. You revisit old conversations, analyze timestamps, zoom in on emojis, look for the moment it changed. Platforms even resurface memories with, on this day, you two were, and shove your ghosts in your face. We used to mourn with fading paper. Now we mourn with pixel-perfect records that don't age. That can trap people in loops of longing and self-torment.
So, your verdict is that the architecture doesn't just host longing, it mutates it into anxiety, surveillance, and looping grief.
Exactly. Long-distance love used to be managing absence. Now it's also managing constant data about the other person.
Okay, let me flip this. First, we need to admit the old letter world wasn't some pure paradise. To write long romantic letters, you needed time, literacy, often class privilege. You needed a reasonably stable postal system, no censorship catching your letters. Lots of people, especially women, queer folks, colonized people, had their love lives heavily policed or erased.
True, but that doesn't mean the structure itself wasn't less panoptic.
Sure, but it means nostalgia is selective. Now, what digital tech did was blow open who gets to communicate and how. People in totally different countries, time zones, even under restrictive regimes, can keep relationships alive across years. That's not just convenience, that's survival.
Fair.
Second, digital tools gave us a whole new expressive toolkit. Letters are long and linear, they're beautiful but one dimensional. Today, intimacy is distributed. You share your day with texts, goofy selfies, memes that only you two get. voice notes where your voice cracks a bit, playlists of songs that quietly say what you can't. These tiny fragments together form a living scrapbook, a constantly updated love story.
And sometimes a constantly updated crime scene.
Yes, but let's stay on my side for a second. Voice notes are a great example. They sit halfway between a letter and a call. You don't have to pick up immediately like on a phone, but you get tone, breath, pauses. For a lot of anxious people, calls are stressful. Voice notes give them a way to be heard without that pressure. Some researchers call this a new secondary orality, a comeback of voice in digital space.
That's one of the few features I actually like, yeah.
Third, the hyper-personal effect. There's work showing that sometimes text-based relationships can feel more intimate than face-to-face early on because people selectively present their best selves and the receiver fills in the gaps with idealization. That can be risky, sure, but it can also let people connect through mind and personality first, body later. For folks who feel marginalized in physical spaces, that's huge.
And then you meet in real life and go, oh, you're shorter and messier than your texts.
That's the calibration phase. But a lot of couples navigate that just fine. Fourth, digital intimacy allows for ambient presence. You don't have to write a letter every week. You can just drop a meme or a look at this cloud photo. It's lightweight, but it says, I'm here. I thought of you. For people juggling jobs, caregiving, chaos, being able to maintain a gentle background connection, not only deep talks, makes relationships more resilient.
Ambient presence can easily slip into ambient pressure, though.
Sure, and that's why I'm not saying it's all sunshine. My point is, this metamorphosis of intimacy isn't purely degeneration. It's also people hacking the interface creatively. Couples set their own rules, turning off read receipts, scheduling no phone hours, writing each other actual letters sometimes, sending physical gifts. Some intentionally slow things down inside fast systems. That's agency. Okay, let me push you on something. You keep saying the architecture forces anxiety, but we know not everyone reacts the same way to blue ticks or less seen. Some people glance, shrug, and live their life. Others spiral. Are we blaming the interface for attachment styles that were already there?
It's both. Of course, attachment patterns matter. If you're anxiously attached, you're more likely to panic when someone doesn't reply. But the interface amplifies it. It gives you this constant drip of ambiguous data, seen, online, typing. Those are like tiny prompts for catastrophizing. The design takes a vulnerability and feeds it.
So it's like giving someone who's already insecure a live CCTV feed of their partner's doorknob.
Exactly. And it's not just individuals. Social norms shift too. What counts as a late reply has shrunk. In the letter era, a week was fine. With email, maybe a day or two. With chat, an hour of silence can feel like a statement. That redefines politeness, care, even commitment. The architecture is part of that cultural shift.
Couldn't we also say that culture adapts, though? I know couples who explicitly de-link responsiveness from affection. They talk it out. I love you, but I won't always reply fast, especially during work.
Those couples are doing counter-design work. They're manually patching what the apps don't. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying the default settings push the opposite way. By design, these apps optimize for engagement, not for your peace of mind. Our longing gets entangled with metrics, how often they text, how fast, how long. Love becomes a notification frequency problem.
And yet, you still use these apps?
Of course! This is not a throw your phone in a lake rant. It's a call to see the water we're swimming in. Long-distance couples today are negotiating not only distance, but also interface politics. If you ignore that, you risk blaming yourself for anxieties that are partially engineered. Now, my turn to poke holes. You've highlighted all the cool affordances. But let's talk fairness. You said digital tools opened up intimacy for more people. True, but these same tools also create labor expectations. In some relationships, one partner effectively becomes a content producer. Constant updates, photos, reassurance. The other consumes and evaluates. Doesn't that sound like Illuse's emotional capitalism in action?
It does, and that's a fair criticism. The always on channel can turn into always on emotional work, often gendered. For example, women expected to keep the conversation alive, reassure, send selfies, prove they're not up to something.
Exactly. The architecture of infinite contact gets layered on top of old inequalities. You worry about who has to keep performing constant availability to maintain the relationship.
That's why I'm not tech utopian, but I'd still argue it's easier to critique and renegotiate that labor when the tools are visible. With letters, a lot of inequality was hidden under romance too. Who had the leisure to write? Who had their letters read or censored by someone else? Who risked literal punishment if found out?
Fair. Still, I'd say our current system adds new forms of extraction. Our longing isn't just between two people now, it's mined by platforms. Screenshots, chat logs, photos, all sit on servers. Even your grief has analytics.
I'm with you on that. There's a third player in almost every modern love story, the platform and its algorithm. And that makes the politics of intimacy way more complex.
So we agree at least that digital intimacy is liberating is too simple, and digital intimacy is ruined is also too simple.
Yeah, the tension is kind of the point. Pause. Next, I want to bring in the body here because it's so easy to treat all this like head only stuff. Sarah Agmed talks about orientation, literally what your body faces. In a lot of modern long distance love, your primary orientation is toward your phone. You sleep with it, you eat with it, you keep it in your hand like a tiny proxy partner.
Yeah, the phone becomes a stand-in body. Instead of holding each other, you hold the device that might vibrate with their presence. Phantom vibration syndrome, when you feel a buzz that isn't there, is like your nervous system constantly expecting contact. That's not just cute. It's a sign your body has rewired around notifications.
And then there are designed haptics, special vibrations for their messages, wearables that send your heartbeat to the other person. It's intimate on one level, you feel something on your skin, but it's also datafied intimacy. A watch motor imitating a pulse doesn't equal a chest under your ear. It's a simulation of closeness layered on top of actual distance.
Which can cut both ways. For some people, those little haptic tricks are comforting. For others, they highlight what's missing and deepen the ache.
And physically, the posture of longing has shifted. No more staring out a window holding a letter. Now it's curved neck, hunched shoulders, thumbs tapping, eyes lit by blue light at 2 a.m., scrolling through old messages. The architecture of apps literally shapes the architecture of the body.
That's a wild but painfully accurate sentence.
So again, not pure good or pure bad, but definitely not neutral.
Let's spend a minute on breakups, because that's where the architecture's claws really show. In older times, you could burn letters, tear photos, physically throw things away. The forgetting was imperfect, but the material supported it. Paper fades, ink bleeds, boxes get lost. Now, you have to actively hunt down traces on every platform. Chat logs, archive stories, shared playlists, saved photos, even things like shared notes or calendars. If you miss one, it can ambush you months later.
Exactly. Researchers talk about digital ruins, the leftover fragments of online lives, including relationships, that persist long after the emotional structure has collapsed. Screenshots of old sweet messages become like ruins of a demolished building, sharp, jagged, still standing in your phone. Reading them can trigger intense melancholia because the text is preserved perfectly while your feelings have changed or died.
And platforms are terrible at respecting grief. They'll cheerfully push 1 year ago today photos of you and your ex in your face. That automated nostalgia might be cute for vacation pictures, but for heartbreak, it's brutal.
So the afterlife of longing has been extended and automated. Our architecture of communication doubles as an architecture of haunting.
That said, some people intentionally keep digital archives as a way to honor their past selves. They might not want to forget. They archive chats instead of deleting them, like keeping letters in a box. But now, the box is searchable, scrollable, infinite.
True, and that can be part of healing for some. My critique is that the default is permanent memory, whereas the human psyche often needs some forgetting to move on. We've built systems that remember better than we do, and in love, that sharp memory is not always kindness.
Okay, let's try to answer the big question without chickening out. My stance, digital architecture has absolutely changed the ontology of longing, but ruin is too strong. It's more like we've taken longing apart and reassembled it with new components. Instead of one long letter, we have a cloud of tiny signals, emojis, memes, VNs, story views. I saw this and thought of you links. That's not inherently shallow. It's just a different grammar.
And my stance, that new grammar is written on top of design choices that maximize engagement, not care. As a result, we get a form of love that is hyper connected, but often hyper anxious, constantly monitored, and deeply entangled with platform economics. Love becomes not just I miss you, but I track you, I measure you, I archive you.
And I still think we should give more credit to how people resist the worst of it. Long distance couples invent rituals, texting good morning and good night, having weekly video dinners, sending physical letters as a treat, setting boundaries like we don't fight over text, we call or wait. They're not passive users, they're micro architects, building softer spaces inside hard systems.
Yeah, and that's where I'm less pessimistic. The research mapping this evolution always ends on similar notes. The medium matters, but it's not destiny. We can reintroduce slowness into instant channels, mystery into transparent spaces, embodiment into screens, but only if we're conscious of what the defaults are doing.
Maybe the most honest thing to say is long distance love has always been about managing distance and uncertainty. What changed was the texture of that uncertainty. It used to be, did the letter get lost? Now it's, why were they online and not answering? Different demons, same haunted room.
And maybe the ethical challenge now is to design, personally and collectively, an ethics of distance for the digital age, learning when not to look at last seen, when to step away from the archive, when to choose a slower medium on purpose, when to let some data die.
Also, learning not to treat every pause as rejection, every delay as betrayal, every blue tick as a verdict. Sometimes people are just in the bathroom.
Love sleep or tired or, living.
So next time your partner takes an hour to reply, instead of refreshing the chat like a stock trader, maybe ask, is this my attachment talking? Or is the app's architecture poking my insecurities?
And next time it rains and your phone lights up with their name, maybe appreciate that weird, fragile miracle. Across all the noise, some little packet of text, voice, or pixels still manages to reach you and say, I'm here. Even if the architecture is messy as hell, that basic gesture is still kind of magical.
That I can agree with. RJ Debate signing off. Drop your verdict in the comments. Did digital tech rescue long-distance love, ruin it, or just make it a lot more complicated?
And yeah, if you're currently staring at a typing bubble, please breathe. Close the app for a minute. Your heart is allowed to exist even when the chat is quiet.